Welcome back to the quintessential MTG channel for another double deck tech budget versus not so budget. My name is Esmond.
I'm Paul.
And today we are doing one of our patron suggested commanders. It is Ovika Enigma Goliath from Phyrexia. All will be one. This is a 7 mana Phyrexia Nightmare.
It is essentially a giant plushie with a lot of goblins inside.
Yes, and as usual, Paul is gonna do the budget version.
It's $37.
$37. Okay, and I will be doing the not so budget version, which is in the thousands.
Wow. So as mentioned before, we are making Ovika, and Ovika, as you can see, the picture in Ovika, you still see the little eyes in there. Those are the goblins. She's gonna make goblins when we cast.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, when we cast non-creature spells. So notice it doesn't say instant and sorcery spells, it says non-creature spells. That actually gives you a lot of versatility in how you build Ovika. I have gone with a very slightly boring, I would say, a storm route. But yeah, you could go with big enchantments, you can go with planeswalkers, up to you. You do you, anything works. The crux of it is you essentially want to cast spells with big mana, and you want to get, to get a lot of goblins. And your goblins can be your win condition, they can use to block, they can do a lot of different things. Ovika also protects herself, which will be a theme that we have to see in the deck because she has 7 mana. You do not want to be casting her for 13 mana at any point in time. The big thing that you can really do with Ovika is you can get a lot of mana and you can try to take out 3 people at one shot with a big Jazz Immolating Inferno. This is the dream, it is the cheese dream. You should not count on it, but I think this is something that is a lot of fun to do. And it combos with kind of part of the game plan, as you will see later.
It's so bad. You need to have a legendary creature or planeswalker out.
Ta-da! But this is the legendary creature. This is the legendary creature or commander format, right? You will always have a legendary creature that you can cast.
So I would suggest just like Crackle with power.
But three targets.
Okay.
In typical Storm style, we have Cathartic Reunion. Chemist's Insight is basically just your draw 2 spell with its jumpstart ability, so you can cast it twice, doubles its card, filter, advantage, that kind of thing. Deep Analysis, essentially Chemist's Insight part 2, 3, 4. Dig Through Time. So the Del spells are very interesting in Ovika decks because if you are turning through, you're wheeling through your deck, you're going to have a lot of cards that you're discarding in your graveyard. When you have your Delve ability trigger, Ovika is going to see the CMC of the card, not how much mana you paid for it. Yeah. So Dig Through Time is going to be your look at top 7 cards, plus it's going to give you your 8 goblins, which is pretty nice. So, right?
Very good.
Very good. Drawn from Dreams is a fair version of it, I suppose. Electric Revelation has flashback ability, so if you have no other cards in hand, you have your Ovika out, you use the flashback ability, get 4 goblins, filter through.
No, flashback, you get 3 goblins.
Oh, you get 3 goblins because it counts as CMC. Yeah. Faithless Looting is your standard thing. There would be argument in an Ovika deck that wants to go high. You could actually go with more rocks and less of these, but I've just been very lazy. I've just gone for the standard packages for Storm decks. Frantic Search to untap your land so you can continue casting spells. Elimination is cycling. Pay 1 blue mana, instant speed, draw a card, or pay 4 mana, draw 2 cards. It's kicker.
It's kicker.
It's kicker. Impulse is just the most efficient 2 mana effect that lets you filter. Right, Opportunity is a big mana, instant speed, card draw spell. So Ovika, as we mentioned before, big mana gets you more goblins. That's where you want to be. Pour over pages, big mana, untaps your land, lets you cast. So if you have Ovika out, you pour through the pages, you get like your you draw 3 cards, you draw more instants and sorceries, you untap your lands, right? You cast another one, and the goblins just go brr, right? Preordain is just filter, pull from tomorrow, big instant speed draw spell, right? Thrill of Possibility is your instant speed Cathartic Reunion. Treasure Cruise is same for the Delve effect, draw 3 cards for 1 mana, get 8 goblins, why not? And Unexpected Windfall is kind of like filter and ram, so it gets you to Ovika early on in the game, and then later on again you can get your treasures and your goblins, which is nice as well.
Yeah. So I think Storm, you really want to have a lot of draw.
And a lot of draw and a lot of mana. Yes,
lands.
A lot of untapping, a lot of treasures. You're just looking to generate big, volatile, big mana turns.
Yeah.
The lands, not much to really talk about here, except if I have it, yes, the Desolate Lighthouse is a way that you can use a mana sink ability to churn through your deck as well to smooth out your draws, which is quite nice. So that's the only land I think that plays any sort of utility here outside of cycling lands, right? Ovika is very mana intensive, and thus we have a pretty hefty protection package. So with her power being so high, Ovika is actually very defendable with something like Bolt Bend. so you can redirect spells.
Budget deflecting
deflecting sword. Another honorable mention that you can use to protect Ovika is Spellskite. So Spellskite, they have to pay the ward cost to target Ovika, and then you redirect it to the Spellskite. No one wants to do that anymore. You pretty much just turn Ovika hexproof at that point. It's a bit over my budget though, so I haven't included it here today. This spell, now I was talking to Esmond about this over the playing table the other day, and he was like, why don't you run counter spell? So this spell being like 1 mana, when your commander is 7 mana, 1 mana short is going to be a very common thing I think that happens when you play a commander like that. And considering that a lot of removal is going to be instant speed, having 1 blue to protect yourself from instants is quite nice. You can also use it to protect yourself from counter spells when you want to go for your big combo play. So this spell, very aggressive card that can be double as protection. Izzet Charm is here because it's flexible. So 2 mana, not for the greatest of all the effects, but considering how slow your deck is, having a little bit of removal can be useful. You can use it as counter spell, you can use it as protection, you can use it to burn something, chop something down, which is relevant. I've already talked about Giants. So Kasmina is adding on to the ward effect of Ovika. In addition to that, being a non-creature spell, if you have Ovika out and then you cast Kasmina, you get your 4 goblins. It's great value. 4 goblins and a 2/2 wizard and a draw discard with a tax effect, a ward effect on your creatures is a very, very good protection for Ovika, very good value.
So we actually played Ovika and Paul had Kasmina out, and it was what, Ward 5?
Ward 5
plus
P3
life. Was like pretty much hexproof.
Yeah, pretty much hexproof. Like, if people put themselves so far behind just to deal with you, it's often not worth it. Mana Leak. This is arguably you could run counterspell instead, but considering budget deck, mana base a little bit iffy, I like to have.
I would run counterspell.
Additional point to note is that if you are playing a storm deck, sometimes you will be playing with effects like Goblin Electromancer, Baral, Chief of Compliance, right? And so that 1 generic mana being reduced in its cost can actually make Mana Leak very, very potent. So that's something you can consider as well instead of counterspell. Miscast is just Dispel at home. Well, it targets sorceries.
Hit sorceries.
Hit sorceries, so there's a little bit, I would say it's about the same, it's just a little bit different, but it plays the same role. Negate, protection, Spell Pierce, plus a Storm at home, and Boots, because Boots. So there's a lot of ramp. We've got the typical culprits of, your Arcane Signet, your Felwar Stone, your Izzet Signet, but some interesting choices as well in Battle Hymn. So if you consider that you're building up a very large number of goblins at some point of the game, Battle Hymn can get you a lot of mana very quickly, right? If you play a 4 or 5 mana Planeswalker, right, and an instant and sorcery, and then you cast your Battle Hymn, that gives you a lot of mana that you can use to then turn through your deck or do other things. Lightstone Ritual is specifically for the goblins, right? Because Ovika specifically makes goblins, so there is a little bit of a goblin sub-theme here for that fragile power, and Lightstone Ritual seems to fit in beautifully with the theme of what the deck is trying to do.
So I just want to say that these two care about the creatures in play, which is why they're not in my deck.
Yes.
Because I want to ramp into Ovika, and I just feel like this, it's dead in your hand until Ovika comes out, and then you cast another big spell, and then you have the creatures, then you can play Battle Hymn.
Yes.
But with your big X spells, they kind of make sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are cards that if you don't have the setup, you want to just loot them away, right? Throw them away, right? If you have the setup, go for it, win more. But if you don't have it, just throw it away. Your usual culprits, your ramp pieces in your Goblin Electromancer. Mind Slice Apparatus is actually performed really well from testing. The ability to play it at instant speed. You hold up your big counter spell or something, your Spell Swindle, right? Spell Swindle is right here, it's in all my Izzet decks because I want that big mana turn. So the ability to hold that up and have value, you don't need to skip your turn, you get a mana reduction. And that mana reduction scales, right? It's not like on the next turn you get 1 mana off, and then on the next turn after that is 2 mana off, and that can ramp up very significantly considering you want to be casting 8-9 mana instants and sorceries. That can really, really get you a lot of mana in 1 turn. Very potent.
I like this card.
Yeah, it's a very potent card. And typical rituals, your Seething Song, Prospector because goblins, right? Diamond, Soul Ring, Standard, Spell Swindle, Mana Drain at home. And yeah, the
Budget
usual,
rocks.
the usual budget rocks that you
Yeah.
Storm deck, don't leave home without it. Pass in Flames.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how EDH metas have been going, but there are things like what's that card? The Escape card.
Underworld Breach?
Underworld Breach, right? Underworld Breach is very powerful, 2 mana, and then escape all your cards. Pass in Flames in this deck specifically might have a little bit more of a higher floor, because being 4 mana itself, if you're using Pass in Flames with Ovika out, that guarantees you at least 4 goblins, whereas Underworld Breach is like 2, not great. So high mana, you do get rewards for playing Ovika.
I mean, Underworld Breach requires you to have a lot of cards in your graveyard that you want to
exile.
Yeah, this one you can just cast all of them if you have the mana.
If you have the mana, yeah. So that's where the rituals and everything kind of come in. So for your big explosive turn, this is your OG Storm finisher, right? Pass in Flames, yeah. The deck is slow, and therefore we have a lot of removal, right? So burn down the house gets you a bunch of creatures, which can be useful. You're running Battle Hymn and things like that, so creatures can be useful. And doubles as a board wipe. Byforce is Vandal Blast at home. Cathartic Pyre can be used to loot, which is what you want to do, and it also doubles as removal. So versatility has been a key decision point in selecting cards. Chain Reaction is just another board wipe. Chaos Walk to deal with things that Izzet normally can't deal with. You normally have no way to deal with an enchantment that has already resolved, for instance, right? Hour of Devastation, Mystic Subdual, same, the usual culprits, the usual culprits. And the typical storm win conditions, your Archaeomancer is in any budget storm deck will play Archaeomancer. We are running High Tide, and therefore the Archaeomancer High Tide Snap combo is there. So for those of you who don't know how it works, is that you can get infinite casts of Archaeomancer, of Snap and Archaeomancer, providing that you double your mana from the High Tide, because then you untap your lands when you use Snap, so you can basically snap the Archaeomancer back to your hand, play it again, and then it brings the Snap back to your hand, and you rinse and repeat.
Just need to have enough islands.
You just need to have enough islands, and the Izzet deck should have enough islands.
Should.
And obviously with Infinite Storm, your usual culprits. Ovika obviously wins you the game. However, at 7 mana, I do like to have some backup win conditions, and for that reason we have Grape Shot. And we also have Sorcerer class. Sorcerer class is an interesting mention, because when Ovika creates these haste goblins, if your Sorcerer class is already level 2, your spells essentially become free, because every time you cast a spell you get haste goblins that tap, for instance, for mana, right? And then you tap those new goblins to get you more mana, and then you cast another spell, and then you churn through, and then you just get more and more and more goblins. Epic Experiment is a way, since you're getting so much mana, it's a way you can just go in with and try for a big turn. If Ovika is out, this is the timmiest of Timmy plays, right? You sink like 14 mana into Epic Experiment, right? You get 14 goblins, you cast 12 more instant and sorcery spells. Each of those generates more goblins, and you're just having a good day. Now you're having a wonderful time. You should win from there. You should win from there. That will likely win you the game. So if there was a deck that could probably play an Epic Experiment, this would probably be it. Step Through can find you your Archaeomancer with its Wizard Cycling ability. So your Archaeomancer is one of your Storm Wind conditions, so this is useful. It can also be used to return as removal, so it's a nice flexible piece, and that's why I generally like this card.
10 cents tutor.
10-cent tutor. Firemind's Research, so this is actually can be used as removal and card draw. Right? Very, very simple, versatile. So this doesn't work well in turbo decks. If you are joining and go really, really fast, I would say Firemind's Vessel a bit slow. But if you're willing to, Firemind's Research a bit slow. But if you're willing to like sit there for a little bit, grind for a little bit, durdle around, right? You kind of need like something flexible to let you durdle. Firemind's Vessel does a pretty good job. Saheeli is Young Pyromancer,
for non-creatures.
For non-creatures. So being a non-creature, if Ovika's out, you get 3 goblins, value already. And the minus ability is pretty good if you copy, let's say, a rock or a mana reducer or something along those lines, right? You can get a lot of potential value from that clone ability. Mirage Conjecture, 5 mana, big mana, right? You play it, you get an instant back, you play it, and then, or you double up your spells later on. And yeah, that's basically the deck. Generally low on the mana curve, and with just very typical storm cards, kind of 50-50 split for the mana symbols, and comes down to $37.47.
Nice.
Yep.
And you can tell that Paul really enjoys this deck because you really went in depth in all the cards.
Yeah.
Yes.
I learned to play EDH playing Storm, so yes.
Which is the complete opposite of me. I learned while playing Mono Green. So, on to my deck, which is Ovika Goblins, because it doesn't make sense to me. Like, Izzet just doesn't make sense to me, but combos do. And the first combo that I'm going for involves Veyran, a sack outlet, and fanning the flames. So very simple. With Ovika out, when you cast fanning the flames, you get goblins. But with Veyran out, you get twice as many goblins because it triggers twice.
Right.
Right? Veyran causes the triggered ability of Ovika to trigger again. So all you need to do is cast Fanning the Flames with a mana cost of at least 4, which means X equals to 2, but you have to pay buyback as well.
Yeah.
So you got to pay 7 mana, and then you get 4 goblins times 2, which is 8 goblins.
Right.
You sacrifice all of them for mana, and you
And
cast
then
it
you cast
again
it
for
again,
7.
and that's Infinite Storm.
No, it's infinite damage because Fanning the Flames wins the game.
Right, wins the game.
Because
right.
it deals damage.
Yes, it deals damage, buyback, and then.
So this is probably my favorite combo in this deck. I'm sure this deck is full of combo lines that I don't even see, but this is one of them that I did see. And this is another one involving Reiterate. So it's the same thing, it's a buyback card like Fanning the Flames, just that Reiterate, you have to either cast another instant or sorcery or wait for your opponent to cast one, then you can cast Reiterate in response.
I think a big ritual gets there too, right? If you had like a Jeska's Will, does that work?
Yes, so Reiterate goes infinite with Jeska's Will and Mana Geyser. So this doesn't win the game like Fanning the Flames. This just generates infinite Storm and infinitely big Veyran.
Unless you have Ovika out, and then it becomes infinite goblins.
No,
with haste,
because
right?
you have to sack all those goblins.
Oh,
to pay
right,
them
right.
mana. Yeah.
But if it's just Jeska's Will, that works out.
If it's just Jeska's Will and Reiterate or Mana Geyser, you get infinite goblins.
Oh yeah, that's Reiterate Infinite. Yeah.
Reiterate. It goes infinite with a lot of things. And then, like I said just now, I want to ramp into Ovika, right? So I have a ton of ramp rocks. 3 mana rocks, the Signets, Jeska's Will, Lotus because Lotus, Crypt because Crypt, and all these rituals. And then Rousing Refrain is interesting to talk about because you can suspend it on turn 2 and then you get it 3 turns later, which is roughly when you probably have enough to cast Ovika.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
Yeah, and if Ovika is already out and then you keep casting this, you get 5 goblins.
Yes.
So it's kind of win-win. I like Primal Amulet here as a cost reducer, which flips, and then you can copy spells. Mind Stone, Ramp. This one, makes treasures, which is great.
Yeah, this is a monster card. Stonekin Honest is a monster card.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of instants and sorceries. This is the Disruption package. Removal, board wipes, removal, counter spells. Deflecting Sword, which is the better version.
The better version of Bolt Band.
Yes. Fierce Guardianship as well, because
Yes.
free spells, you pay 0, you get 3 goblins. Right? Pay 0, get 5. Ramp, Mana Drain, Misdirection, 0 for 5 goblins.
Yeah.
One-sided board wipe, more removal, land removal, Submerge, like just a bounce spell for free, as long as someone has a forest. And Swan Song, which is the better version of Dispel.
Yes.
Vandal Blast, which I think is the better version of Bifrost.
Yes.
So we're basically just playing the same kind of packages.
It's just the ones at home.
Different
versus,
budgets. Yeah. And then this is my draw and filter package. We have a creature with Magecraft to draw cards. Same as you have a lot of draw filter spells. I have Brainstorm, Dig Through Time, Looting. This is the other Refrain that I also put in. So same as the previous Refrain cards, it has Suspend. And this one you draw 2 cards.
I think the Suspend cards are really, really good for this deck.
Yeah, I think this is super interesting here. And then of course we have Ristic Study, because it's a non-creature spell that draws cards. We have all these MDFCs. Skull Clamp I think is super interesting with the goblins. And then Magic Mirror.
This card should be in my deck.
Which, I think this is
This card should be in my deck. This is really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's so good. Just cost less, it could cost 3 mana and you get like 9 goblins and then you have no max hand size, you draw cards every turn. It's insane. Just standard stuff. Flame Stoker is a new one, which I think I would like to try actually. So you cast a non-creature spell, it gets an oil counter. And then you pay 7 mana, you sacrifice it, discard your hand and draw 4 cards. but it costs 1 less for each oil counter on it. So it could be 1 red to cast it, and then 1 red, sacrifice it, draw 4 cards. So if you have an empty hand, it kind of just refills your hand.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
And then yeah, support pieces. Once again, you know, this deck probably has the potential to storm off. I wouldn't know how to do that. Sack outlets, reiterate, Sahili for the same reason. Shark Typhoon, either you can cycle it, or if you play it as enchantment, you get more tokens.
This is a good card.
Yeah. Also cares about non-creature spells.
Yes.
That's why it's in here. Surge to Victory, I think it's really interesting. I actually think I saw this on EDH Rec, and Joey, or one of the guys were talking about it. When you have a bunch of goblins out, right? You play this. Creatures you control get plus X power until end of turn, where X is the card you exile from your graveyard.
Ooh.
So you exile something like Seagate Restoration for 7. So all the goblins are going to get plus 7 power.
Huge. This is huge. This is an incredible card.
And then when a creature you control deals combat damage, you copy the exiled card. You play it for free to get more goblins.
You cast this at 6 mana.
Yeah.
You generate your 6 goblins first, and then the spell resolves. And then like you exile like your random treasure cruise that's sitting in there, right? And that's insane.
And whenever a creature, so every creature that deals damage, you get a copy of the card. And then you have just more token makers, and Bayran is here. Land-wise, this is where the bulk of the budget is.
That's hilarious.
$1,000.
That's more than half the deck.
Mostly because of this Volcanic Island. So you take this away, you take away $700.
Storm decks are generally cheap. Spellcaster decks, I think.
So interesting cards, I guess. I like Minamo. Helps you untap your commander, so you can kind of give it pseudo vigilance, and then you just have some standard ramp here, land destruction. You got graveyard hit, protection. Keep with Skull Clamp is something that I like and I would like to happen, to draw cards and draw more cards with War Room. And yeah, that's basically it. So also very low, mostly 3 CMC below, and a pretty even split with the mana 51 and 49%. And the price is $1,792.
Of which
700
is in one
card.
One card.
Yeah. I don't know where the other $1,000 went.
Probably in your Force of Wills. And stuff like that.
Probably in the Disruption package.
I want to say something about both the deck techs actually. Looking at Esmond's deck tech, I've never seen his deck tech before, right? I think like if you wanted to build a really powerful version of Ovika, it would be neither of our decks. Instead, what you probably want to do is you want to take the elements of both of our decks and kind of mash them together. And you probably get something really
strong. The powerful elements.
Yeah, the really powerful elements, like the card that he was showing just now with that 6 mana card. That's insane.
I mean, we didn't even add things like Mystical Tutor, solve the equation, gamble, tutors.
You don't need it.
Yeah, we don't put it in.
Yeah,
you can probably just get away with all the looting the card draw. That's it for our Ovika double deck tech, double budget, double deck tech. And once again, let us know what you think of the deck. We promise that gameplay episodes with these deck tags are coming out soon. It's just we've just been swamped with a lot of backlog of previous content.
Yeah, a lot of commitments as well.
Yeah, a lot of commitments. Matthew's also been very busy. So yeah, but we will get there eventually. Thanks for watching. Let us know what we should talk about next, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.